The time jump between like July and this footage is gonna be crazy.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, team, I do not have a lot to be thankful for this year. 2022's been like a Johnny Depp movie marathon where the DVD player gets stuck repeating his 25th film. It's just been blow after blow after blow. Between the hurricane and the Ukraine, this year's just kind of been mega swamp ass. I can probably think of like 3 things I'm thankful for if I really try. I'm thankful for the Dreamcast that I bought that I haven't played yet. It looks great on my shelf. I'm thankful that I don't have to come up with a second thing to be thankful for. And I'm thankful that I can finally throw away my computer. You see, this year I've uploaded 4 times, and part of that is because I have raging ADHD and a 9 to 5, and the other part is because I have been editing on a Microsoft Windows Surface. A glorified iPad whose strengths include blue screening during renders to lose hours of work and reaching planetary core levels of heat when more than 2 apps are running at the same time. Because this overpriced tablet was almost as old as the ones Moses found in 3118, I decided to upgrade to the Marinaut machine, a PC designed to play games and edit videos. Also, I can start making higher quality videos more frequently. I've edited 1 video on this thing and it's primarily in 720p. The only thing worse than knowing I uploaded a video in the same resolution a Nintendo Wii runs in is knowing that I haven't even put this thing to the test yet. I've spent north of $2,000 to only play farming games that I could run on a Switch, but you know what? I'm about to change that. In the spirit of Thanksgiving, I'm gonna show how thankful I am for my computer by playing one of the most important PC games of all time, Half-Life. Half-Life 1 is not at all what I thought Half-Life was. I really joined the internet around the height of the Half-Life 3 confirmed meme and played a shit ton of Gary's Mod growing up, which uses assets from Half-Life 2, but I've never actually played the games, so I went into Half-Life 1 thinking it was gonna be all airboats and gravity guns, when really it's more horrors beyond human comprehension and regular guns. The game cares more about creating an unsettling environment over unforgettable action set pieces, and I'm really okay with that trade-off, because it makes the game way more atmospheric. The first half of it has a weird, off-putting, off-white office workplace vibe that I love, equipped with the McDonald's trash cans from the early 2000s and everything. Based on all the harsh green and yellow lighting and the seemingly endless repeating hallways, I'm willing to guess that this game's visual style helped form the look of the backrooms today. The ambience the game's art direction creates is incredible, and it's only bolstered by the sound design and the music. The music is sparing and sonically simplistic, but effective for the most part. Each song encapsulates the mood and intensity of the situation perfectly. Except for that one time you go outside and they cue in like the fucking Hebrew rock guitar solo that would play when Indiana Jones first enters Egypt or some shit. It's the Mojave, not fucking Al-Mazar. You can put away the desert flute. Both the eerie aesthetics and the monotonous music create a haunting atmosphere that fits the game's plot perfectly. Which, speaking of which, kinda sucks. You play as the White Morgan Freeman, otherwise known as Gordon Freeman, otherwise known as Season 5, Episode 15, Walter White, and your goal is to escape an underground research facility after a failed experiment with an alien artifact releases the plot of a Doctor Who episode on Earth. The general story is kinda like a poor man's doom or a rich man's doom, but that's okay because the important part of the story is told through gameplay, which I adore. The moment where you find out the military, who you thought were here to save you, are actually here to kill you is such an incredible twist, and I love that it happens in gameplay rather than in some cutscene. I feel like it makes the moment a lot more poignant. I wish I could have survived the encounter to make it stick better, but oh well. On that note though, not having cutscenes does allow for some of the 90s AI to creep through and cause some awkward moments.
Anything that much of a burden?
But being able to play during scenes like the Resonance Cascade instead of just watching it is way more interesting. I like that part where you teleport around and see all the aliens you'll be fighting, but it's presented in a way that makes it feel like the end of Pikmin, or those old platformers where the enemies were introduced as like cast members on a TV show and were shown one by one. It's all your favorite characters, rotisserie chicken, half a goat, and the biblical demon. As for the gameplay though, I actually really enjoyed it for the most part. The combat was described to me once by a stranger in a YouTube comments section as a strategic shooter, which is such a perfect way to describe a different game. I know this game helped pioneer FPS games and blah blah blah, but I just don't feel like there's all that much strategy to the combat. It's a cover shooter, sure, you have to be strategic in choosing when to stand up, but I mean, so do anemic people. I never felt like I was solving a puzzle during combat. I felt like I was playing a high-stakes hide-and-seek. I do appreciate that you feel so weak in this game, though. It's interesting to see an FPS game where I'm afraid of being shot, especially when compared to the other prominent shooters that came out at this time that were designed to make you feel like Robert O'Neill on trend. I mean, you play as an MIT grad with a goatee. Were you really expecting to be able to bum rush the United States Armed Forces? His thick-rimmed glasses make me feel like the Boy Scouts of America would have given him trouble. The combat does sort of get stale after a while, though. It's not like the shooting sections are terrible or anything, I just kinda wish there was more variety. Like, you rarely see multiple types of aliens together. They really segregate them into groups by species. I feel like they need a Cronenbergian MLK to fix this once and for all. There are a couple of moments where the aliens and the soldiers are in the same room and you can choose who to kill, but I can count the number of times that happened on one finger. Because it happened once. And the stale combat only gets more frustrating when you have to repeat combat sections over and over and over again, because this game can be incredibly hard. Like Chris O'Barrel on the Moe's scale hard. The difficulty in this game is fucking crazy. You can tell where I had trouble based on my save history, because some of these levels are almost impossible without saving every 4 feet. And it's so brutal because sometimes the game punishes you for something you didn't even get a warning for. I genuinely could not even estimate a number for the amount of times I died without knowing why. How the fuck am I supposed to learn from my mistakes if I don't even know what I did wrong? Most of this is just how the game was designed, but some of it is because of glitches and stuff. Like the fucking helicopter that apparently is a cloaking device or something, because it can just be behind the sky texture at any time, I guess. That's a bit fucking unfair. Half the difficulty of this game just comes from the fact that it controls like a fucking new Super Mario Bros. Ice level, which would be fine if they didn't also put fucking platforming puzzles in the game. Why the fuck would you do that, dude? Ah! I'm not kidding. Most of the final battle is just shitty off-planet platforming, which was a fucking nightmare. I really didn't like much of this game after you leave Black Mesa, honestly. It felt like Valve just lost steam when making the back half. I like the look of Zen and its weird scrotum joke monsters, but that's really about it. It also ends really quickly too. You fight that image of a fetus at 2 months from my Psychology of Gender textbook, and then the G-Man shows up to you and speaks in Harry Potter Parseltongue on the L train, and then whomp! The whole mystery of who the G-Man is and what the fuck he was saying is never really addressed, which kinda left a bad taste in my mouth. But thank God the sequel tastes so much better. Half-Life 2 is probably like my 4th favorite game I've played for this channel, right below Halo, Doom, and that Lego pirate game that ran off of Flash. It does everything you could want from a sequel by becoming a different game entirely. Yeah, Half-Life 2 almost feels like an entry to a different series when compared to Half-Life 1. Like if someone tried to pass off Raiders as a sequel to A New Hope. While the combat remains pretty much the same, the setting is completely new and unfamiliar. You're no longer escaping a research facility in New Mexico, but are instead in City 17, which, to be honest, I'm not even sure if it's in America. This game doesn't really explain a lot. Or maybe it does, I don't know. I'm not very good at paying attention to movies. The game is so different that if it weren't for the head crabs and the chicken Brent looking asses, I probably could have been convinced that this was like a Metro game or something. But the thing is, I love that it's different. Everything it adds or changes makes it entirely superior to its predecessor, much like Christ the Redeemer when compared to his older brother, James. The controls are tighter, the environments are more open, and the weapons are now so much cooler. You have a crossbow that shoots red-hot fucking rebar and pins people to walls. This shit is bonkers. Of course, this Daryl from The Walking Dead-ass creation pales in comparison to Half-Life 2's crowning achievement, the gravity gun. This thing is a weapon, a puzzle-solving tool, a shield, it's everything. Once the gravity gun gets introduced, no combat section plays out the same as another because you are constantly being forced to scan your environment to find a way to use it to your advantage. And none of this would be possible without Valve's insanely impressive physics engine. This thing redefined gaming at this time. A physics engine this complete had never even been seen before. In fact, a lot of this game is groundbreaking. The expressive facial animations, the incredibly detailed textures, the low-rise genes, it's almost impossible to think that this game came out in 2004. Almost. Also, the cast is incredibly diverse and it feels naturally done. I'm not giving the game any points for this, but it's just kinda cool to see this level of representation from a game that came out the same year Rob Schneider played a native Pacific Islander. But there is way more variety in the enemy types now. You'll encounter a mixture of slow and fast zombies, antlions and white men, dinosaurs, I guess? I don't remember that. And headcrabs, which I've come to realize are kinda like the rats of the Half-Life universe. They hold no alliances and everybody hates them equally. They're just sort of there to cause problems for all parties. The combat against these enemies is so much cleaner compared to the last game, and you feel a lot cooler fighting them. Half-Life really sought out to make the player feel like a survivor, whereas Half-Life 2 makes you feel like the hero. Case in point, the fucking airboat level. This is the level that sold me on Half-Life 2. Something about aerosolizing fecal matter with an airboat as you improvise your escape through a sewer makes you feel like a proper hero. I can't remember who said it first, and I'm scared that it was the Nostalgia Critic, and I don't want people knowing I watch him, so somebody once said, a good action hero isn't somebody who succeeds all the time, but somebody who can always make the most out of a bad situation. That's why seeing Tom Hardy use the car door he's handcuffed to as a shield is so engaging. We like seeing people adapt to overcome the odds, and this game makes you feel like you're doing that the entire time. The level design tricks you into thinking you're making creative split-second decisions to evade the CP, horrible name by the way, forces, even though the game heavily guides you towards making those decisions without you even realizing it, creating a seamless action sequence where you feel both in control and like a true action hero. It's one of my favorite set pieces in any video game. But also, this game has tons of incredible set pieces. Every time I started to get bored of a level, I'd find myself suspended above a river in the movie Tremors minus Kevin Bacon. Each level felt like it surpassed the last, to the point where I think I might say Half-Life 2 genuinely might be a perfect game. I don't throw that word around lightly. This is a line I wrote for this script before I got to Nova Prospect, and it's around here that the game really starts to take some slight dips in quality. Up to this point, each level provided some new game mechanic or environment that elevated the action and kept the player engaged with what was happening. The level before this introduced ant armies you could control using insectestes, and the level before that had a dune buggy with a machine gun, and just before that we had using the gravity gun to saw men in half. So you can imagine my disappointment when the big surprise of this level was turrets. Yee fucking haw. Valve, of course, tried to make up for it by having the next level be an incredible moment where you embrace your messianic position as the leader of the Resistance in a final assault on City 17, and when the stars align and you're charging through the empty city streets with your team, you feel absolutely unstoppable, but they even fucked that up. I need literally anybody from the development team to try and justify to me why they thought having a level where you command 4 NPCs with binary for brains through a post-World War Serbian apartment complex would be fun. And then I want an apology. This is literally the end of your game. This is the last bite of your hoagie. This is what people are gonna remember when they think back on their playthrough with this game. You genuinely cannot fuck this part up. But you did. Your own teammates provide a bigger threat than the Combine soldiers themselves because all 4 of them seem to create an impasse with their shit AI in these tiny low-income housing hallways. I know I'm making a big deal out of this, and it was annoying, but the second part of this game isn't actually all that bad. If the beginning is a 9, everything past the middle is an 8.5, both more than satisfactory. I think how great the first part is accidentally made the second part look worse by association. And keep in mind, I'm not against a top-heavy game, I just wish it had a little more meat on the back end to balance things out, which it kinda did with the blue gravity gun, but I don't even know if that was enough. So then what did I think of Half-Life 2? It's a great game, but is it perfect? Yeah, kinda. See, I don't really know if there is a perfect game out there. 2 of my favorite games, Combat Evolved and Ocarina of Time, are often considered the greatest games of all time, but each are slightly short of perfect. One has weird difficulty spikes, and the other can only be played on a 3DS at this point, which is a sin in of itself. I don't know if a game can actually be perfect, and I think Half-Life 2 might be just as close as we can get. Even if the game does actually start loading the next level while you're operating vehicles, and then Jesus takes the wheel and puts you on the highway to heaven via the nearest man-made object. I kinda think the same of Half-Life 1, but those ice skating controls really fuck with that game. But that doesn't even matter because these games are revolutionary. Valve and Steam and gaming as we know it would not exist if it weren't for these games, and it actually makes me really sad that we might never see a Half-Life 3. But can you blame the devs? I mean, how the hell do you follow up 2 of the most influential games of all time when you haven't produced a game that wasn't a Hearthstone ripoff in years? Is it even worth it at that point? I don't know if we'll ever see a proper sequel to these games, or find out who the G-Man is, or what happens next for Gordon Freeman, but I do know that I am thankful that I played these games. Happy Thanksgiving. Also, Half-Life 2 is entirely built off of stock sound effects from movies. I didn't know where to put this, so I'm putting this at the end. You can literally hear these sound effects in any given episode of Breaking Bad.
Oh, hey.
Hello?
Half-Life. Half-Life. There's only so many ways you can say Half-Life. And for some reason I can't explain, and I said bitter cold. I was a theater kid, man. Oh. Sorry. I didn't mean to hit that moan like that. On that note, his thick-rimmed glasses make me feel like the Boy Scouts of America. Chrysoberyl, why would I write a rock joke?
What the fuck, dog? What the fuck is going on here? What the fuck, bro?
There's one of those noises.